Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria's Action Figure Cantina. Today we're having a look at the Mattel DC Comics Multiverse Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice 6-inch Toys R Us exclusive Superman. So this figure is a repaint slash retool of the previously released Superman figure from the Batman v Superman Multiverse line. Packaging, as you can see, is the same as we've been seeing before. It's the black, red, and white theme. It says DC Comics Multiverse, gives you a look inside the packaging at the figure and all the accessories that it comes with, and then a portrait down at the bottom of Superman. Side of the box gives you a peek inside the packaging. Opposite side shows you the same portrait of Superman. And at the back, we get a look at the grapple gun, which we have been trying to build all the way since early January when these toys started hitting. We're still trying to finish it. And it indicates here that we get some exclusive grapnel gun parts with this figure, and then it shows you a look at the figure once again. So as I mentioned at the opening, this is a Toys R Us exclusive variant of the Superman figure, and I'm not expecting too much from what we've seen before. We just looked at the Toys R Us exclusive Unmasked Batman, but I'm hoping this is going to be a little bit of a better figure. Let me go and get out of the packaging. We'll take a closer look, and we'll see whether or not that's true. Alright you guys, and here is the Man of Steel out of the packaging, and I gotta say, I really like what I'm seeing here. The costume is a lot more muted than the other Superman figures we have seen in 6-inch form from Mattel, from both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. It's the same body as before, but I really like these colors. The physique of the figure is very nice, seems pretty lifelike in my opinion, pretty close to what we saw in the film. It still has the same cape as before, which I don't really like. I was hoping that they would have given us a new cape because this one is just a little bit too big and kind of gets in the way of posing him. He does have a good little bit of articulation and does come with an interchangeable head. Go ahead and give you an up-close and personal look at Clark Kent. Oops, sorry Superman, didn't mean to spoil your little secret. As you can see, it looks pretty good. The skin might be a little bit on the pale side. As far as the head itself, it does look like it's a new head compared to the previous release. Yeah, it does look to be a new head. The hair is a little bit different. So yeah, definitely a new head. And it is sculpted okay. Does it look like Henry Cavill? Not really. I mean, it's certainly got the jawline and probably even the hairline, but I mean, it's close enough. It's certainly passable, and it's better than what we saw with the unmasked Bruce Wayne. But it's not a perfect representation of Henry Cavill at all. I mean, it's okay, and it does work. But yeah, could have been better. As far as the paint itself, it looks okay. The eyes look all right. They're imperfect, a little bit asymmetrical, but that'll do pig. And the rest of the head, he's got a little bit of like dirt or something there on his cheeks. On his forehead. It is what it is. The hair itself, this is a little bit different from the other figures. It's a little bit more sleeked, and it looks a little closer to what we saw in the film. So all in all, not bad. I do think it's a little too pale, though, and that kind of stands out a little bit more considering how dark the costume is, which this is the same body we had before, but the costume is just a lot deeper. I mean, this blue, to me, looks closer to what we saw in the film. But I think the cape is a little bit too dark. I like it. I like what they did here, but it's just too dark. It's like a really deep red. And yeah, it should have been a little more vibrant. But, you know, either way, at least they're not giving us a same old figure once again. This does look a little bit better overall, in my opinion, because the other one was just way too light. The body itself looks good. Nice sculpting. It's got closed fists on both hands, so you can't hold anything. Boots look pretty good. They do have some texture to them, as does the rest of the costume, of course. Some panel lining right here on the sides of his waist and then on his wrists. The cape, again, same one that we've had before, just connects there into his back. There's the back of his costume right there. And I'm just not a huge fan of this cape. It's heavy, waist and back, and it's really hard to pose him in, you know, pretty dynamic poses just because of the cape. It just kind of like, especially here in the center, just kind of goes in between his legs like that. Don't really like it. In the way of articulation, it is the same as before. You get a, it seems like a ball joint here at the head, and you get some good movement with it. It goes down, goes up. You can tilt it a little bit. I dig it. It's got ball hinging at both of these shoulders, so you can move them around just like that, and they seem to work pretty well. No interference from the cape or anything. It's got swivels at both of the biceps, bends at the elbows, swivels at the wrists. You get a swivel here at the waist, You get the articulation here at the hip so that he can do his Superman split, and then you can move them forward and backward. You get swivels at the lower thighs, you get bends at the knees, and finally you get bends at both of the ankles. In terms of accessories, Superman comes with this alternate head, which is the same exact head sculpt as the one that is on him out of the packaging. The difference here being, of course, that he has the heat vision. It looks okay. Personally, I think it would have looked a little bit better if they would have just done, maybe the eye is just red, because this looks a little cartoony. Like for the Man of Steel 6-inch figures, they gave us a heat vision Superman in a black suit, and I just think that that effect looks a little bit better. They basically just painted his eyes red, and I like that better. I mean, this again just looks a little too cartoony. If they would have gone this way, I think it would have been a better aesthetic. So to swap Superman's head, what we're going to do is just pull it off. And in the process, we'll knock his alternate head off the table. And then you'll see that we're left with a ball joint. And to get the alternate head on, we're just going to replace it. There we go. It's pretty stiff. And even with the new one on there, it's still pretty stiff. So that's a good thing, but it is a little hard to get it off and on. But how does this look? I mean, all in all, it doesn't look too bad. Again, I do think I like the aesthetic better on the previous Heat Vision Batman that Mattel did, but this isn't too bad, of course. It looks definitely passable, but I don't know. I just think that the aesthetic on the other version looks a little bit better. And we do get a couple of unique accessories for the grapnel gun with this Superman figure. The first one here is the same one that came with the Batman Unmasked figure that we just reviewed. Really nothing too special about it. You can see that they molded it. Even with the joints there in place, you cannot bend it. But it is interesting that they, just use the same mold, but, didn't include the articulation. You also get this other little blast effect piece right here, and I think this is what you connect into the grapnel gun, into the barrel, and then this is supposed to kind of be like invisible, like it's launching a little projectile or something. And here is a comparison. As you can see, it's quite a bit of a difference. I have kind of felt all along like the original release was a little bit too vibrant in terms of coloration. Looks a little bit too much like the comic book Superman and not quite enough like the one from Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. It doesn't look bad by any means. You can see the detail pretty nicely because of how light the color is. But I feel that this is a little bit closer to what we saw in the film, except for the cape. I think the cape is a little bit too muted, and same with the boots. Other than that, the actual suit itself looks pretty spot on in my view. Here's a look from the back. As you can see, they have the same cape, which again, I don't like. I know I'm saying it a lot, but I really don't like this cape, and I really wish they would have given us something better, something a little more narrow and a little bit less heavy. In terms of the heads themselves, I do think that the new version here from Toys R Us looks a little bit closer to Henry Cavill. This one isn't bad, but it looks a little bit more like a younger John Travolta. I do think that the coloration for the skin is better on the original release. If they could have taken that skin color and applied it to the new version here, I think it would have been ideal. And then here we have the Man of Steel Movie Master 6-inch Superman, along with these other two guys we were just looking at. And overall, I think that the Man of Steel one had it best in terms of the overall coloration for the outfit. The head sculpts, as you can see, are kind of all over the place. They're each a little bit different. I think this one's probably the most realistic. It's got the 5 o'clock shadow, just has a more natural look to it. I think this one would have probably been the best if it was painted a little bit more like that. But I do think it has the best overall base sculpt. It doesn't really look like it because the paint is lacking. And then why not? Just one more shot of all 4 of the 6-inch Man of Steel and Batman v Superman 6-inch figures. One thing's for sure, I'm never going to run out of Henry Cavill's Superman. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Mattel DC Comics Multiverse Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Toys R Us exclusive 6-inch Superman. Overall, you guys, I do like the figure. I think that it is a better release than the unmasked Batman that we got and just reviewed. That one just doesn't look anything like Ben Affleck. And as you saw if you watched the video, when you put the mask on his head, it just looks atrocious. So if you're just going to get one of the 2 exclusive figures, I would say go with Superman. I think it's a little bit better of a figure. Plus you get the interchangeable head, which isn't that bad. Here's what I do like about the figure. I think that the sculpt is quite good. The head sculpt is decent. It's not 100% dead on to Henry Cavill, but it is an improvement over the previous releases. What kind of holds the likeness back though is the fact that it's not painted very well. They seem to have skimped a little bit on the paint for his face, which really would have set this apart from the previous releases. It's too pale, but the costume itself I think is closer to the film than what we saw with the previous Batman v Superman 6-inch release. I think it's nice that they included an alternate head, but the execution just isn't the best. If they would have gone with a more simple aesthetic for the heat vision eyes, I think it would have been a little bit better. But again, it's not too bad, and the fact that he has an interchangeable head that works is better than what we saw with Unmasked Batman that had a removable mask that just didn't work. So overall, I don't regret buying the figure. I don't see it as an absolute necessity, but I will say that if you don't have the previously released Batman vs Superman 6-inch Superman figure, then I think this is probably the best way to go, since you do get the two heads and you do get a nicer colored costume. Other than that though, I don't see it as an absolute necessity, especially if you are picking and choosing with the 6-inch Multiverse line. I got my figure from ToysRUs.com for $19.99. I haven't come across them in the stores, but I have seen the Batman Unmasked. It does seem like Superman is the harder figure to find of the two, so if you do want to get him, I would recommend looking at ToysRUs.com just so you can better your chances of securing one of them. Alright my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, then I do encourage you to please like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the Batman v Superman Toys R Us exclusive Superman figure, whether or not this is something you would add to your personal collection. Be sure and follow me on Facebook and Twitter for the latest in news and updates. And as always, I want to thank you for watching Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, my friends, bye-bye.